I wake up every morning with this familiar knot in my stomach. It's like a weight pressing down on my chest before I even open my eyes. The moment I'm awake, my mind jumps to the endless list of bills and expenses waiting for me, each one a reminder of how far behind I am. Rent, utilities, groceries, phone bill, student loans, none of it feels manageable anymore. The numbers keep climbing, but my paycheck never seems to stretch the way it used to. I'm caught in this cycle where everything costs more, but I can't earn more. It's exhausting. Some days, I wonder if I'm the only one who feels this way, trapped in a system that's designed to keep me running on a treadmill, never moving forward. Inflation means the grocery store aisles look like a minefield, each price tag a little shock. A simple bag of rice or a gallon of milk costs more than I can remember paying even a year ago. And yet, my job, what little it pays, is static. I can't ask for a raise without risking my already shaky position. I've had to become a master of stretching every dollar, which means making choices that break my heart. For example, I used to love cooking. I'd spend weekends trying new recipes, making big meals to share with friends or just savoring something homemade. Now, cooking feels like a chore, a necessary means to an end. I buy only the cheapest ingredients, often sacrificing quality and nutrition. Fresh fruits and vegetables? Sometimes, I skip them because they don't fit in the budget. I miss the joy of cooking for myself and the creative outlet it used to be. Social life is another casualty. Invitations to dinners or outings come, and I'm forced to say no more often than I'd like. I worry about how it sounds to my friends, that I'm too busy or not interested. The truth is, it's not just about time, it's about money. Even a simple night out means spending on transportation, food, drinks, and maybe a cover charge. It adds up quickly, and when you're watching every cent, it's easier to retreat than to explain. Emotionally, it's draining. There's this constant undercurrent of anxiety that I can't seem to shake. I try to keep it together in front of others, but inside, it feels like I'm always on the edge of panic. The stress isn't just about the numbers, it's about the future, or lack thereof. I've had dreams, big ones, that now feel like luxuries. I wanted to travel, to pursue further education, maybe even buy a small place of my own someday. But those dreams have been put on hold indefinitely. It's hard not to feel like they're slipping away with every passing month. I've learned to cope the best I can. Budgeting apps, coupon clipping, discount shopping, these have become tools of survival. Sometimes, I pick up side gigs when I can, but they're unpredictable and tiring. Sleep suffers. The worry keeps me awake some nights, turning over bills and wondering how I'll make rent, what I'll cut next week, if I'll have enough left for a prescription refill. My mental health isn't great. I've started therapy, partly because I realized I couldn't handle the pressure alone, and partly because having someone listen makes the weight a little lighter. There's also a strange kind of guilt for wanting more, for feeling frustrated, when so many people have it worse. I remind myself that it's okay to feel overwhelmed and that this doesn't mean I'm weak. But still, there are moments I feel invisible, like my struggle is brushed off because I'm young or should be grateful for having a job at all. It's lonely, even in a crowded city. Despite all this, I hold on to hope. Hope that someday the economy will stabilize, that wages will catch up with costs, that I'll have the freedom to make choices without the constant cloud of financial fear. I think about small victories, getting through a month without overdraft fees, finally paying off a credit card, or even just finding a quiet moment to breathe without anxiety gnawing at me. Those moments remind me that I'm not defined by this struggle. I don't know what the future holds, but I want to believe it holds something better. I want to believe I'll reclaim those postponed dreams and that this season of survival is temporary. Until then, I'll keep navigating the maze, one careful step at a time, holding on to whatever light I can find in the dark. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. Some days, I feel like I'm just treading water, barely keeping my head above the rising tide of bills and expenses. It's this strange kind of exhaustion, not just physical, but mental and emotional, that creeps in when you're constantly reminded that no matter how hard you work, the cost of living just keeps climbing faster than your paycheck ever can. I'm 26 now, and for the last few years, it feels like every choice I make is filtered through this financial lens. I wake up in the morning and think about rent, utilities, groceries, transportation. I go to bed doing the same. And in between, I'm trying to survive in a world that seems designed to keep me scrambling. When I graduated from college, I had dreams, big ones. I wanted to travel, maybe start my own business someday, even just have enough saved to move out of this cramped apartment with peeling paint and unreliable heating. But those dreams started slipping away almost immediately once reality hit. The job market was tough, and even with a decent entry-level job, the paycheck barely stretched. Rent was a monster eating up half of what I earned, and the rest had to cover everything else: student loans, phone bills, transportation, food. It didn't leave much room for anything else. I remember sitting down one night, scrolling through social media, seeing friends posting about weekend getaways, new apartments, fancy dinners, and feeling this sinking pit in my stomach. Not because I was jealous exactly, but because it felt like I was watching life move forward without me. The system seemed rigged to make sure I stayed put, stuck in this loop where expenses climb relentlessly, but income feels frozen. The grocery store is a battlefield. I find myself staring at price tags more than the food itself, calculating what I can afford this week. Do I buy fresh vegetables, or stick to cheaper processed stuff? Should I pick up that pack of chicken, or will beans and rice have to do again? It's a constant mental math game, and it's exhausting. Cooking becomes less about creativity and more about survival. Every month, I'm juggling due dates, trying to avoid late fees. Electricity, internet, phone, credit card minimums, and on top of that, a little money that's supposed to go towards savings or paying off debts faster. Spoiler, it rarely happens. The feeling of being trapped in a cycle where there's no breathing room is suffocating. Like no matter what I do, the finish line keeps moving further away. Some days, I get so overwhelmed that I just want to shut everything off. Stop looking at my bank account, stop opening bills, stop pretending I can fix this all right now. But then reality comes crashing back in. Missing a payment can wreck your credit, and that makes everything harder: renting, loans, even some jobs. I cope in little ways. I write in my journal to clear my head. I try to find joy in small things: a walk in the park, a good book borrowed from the library, a phone call with a friend. But the stress never really goes away. It lurks in the background, making it hard to feel fully present or hopeful. There's a shame in this financial pressure, too. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing, like I'm not doing enough. But then I remind myself, this isn't a failure of will or effort. It's the system. Inflation rises, wages lag, and the cost of everything else eats away at the scraps I manage to hold on to. I've had to postpone so many things: moving out on my own, saving for travel, even dating because social activities cost money I don't have. It feels like I'm putting my life on hold until some mythical moment when the stars align, and suddenly money isn't a constant worry. But deep down, I know that moment might not come anytime soon. Still, I cling to hope. I want to believe that if I keep working, keep pushing, things will get better. Maybe I'll find a higher paying job or get a promotion. Maybe one day the economy shifts, and wages catch up. Until then, I'm doing my best to stay afloat, one day at a time. Being young in this economic climate feels like a slow grind against an invisible wall. But I'm still here. I'm still trying. And even if the system feels designed to keep me trapped, I hold on to the belief that I deserve more than just survival. I deserve a life where I can dream again. Because dreams are what keep me going, even if they have to wait a little longer. Sometimes, I feel like I'm stuck in quicksand. Every step I take to move forward just sinks me deeper. It's this constant pressure that weighs down on me, almost invisible to the outside world, but crushing all the same. I'm 27, working a full-time job that's supposed to be stable, yet somehow, month after month, I'm barely keeping my head above water. The economy around me feels like a tidal wave, always pushing harder, rising faster than I can paddle. Expenses climb while my paycheck stays stubbornly the same, or at best, grows so slowly it might as well be standing still. I remember when I first got my job after college, full of hope and dreams about the future. I thought I'd be able to rent a nice apartment, maybe even save up for a car, take some trips, and eventually think about buying a home. But life had other plans. Rent went up almost every year, groceries cost more than they used to, and every unexpected bill, car repairs, medical visits, even a broken phone screen, feels like a full-on crisis. It's like the system is designed to keep me running in place, never quite catching up. My mornings start early and with a kind of anxious rhythm. I wake up, check my bank account out of habit more than anything else, and try to calculate whether I have enough for the week ahead. Sometimes I skip breakfast because I know the coffee is more essential, it keeps me functional for the day. My lunch is often leftovers or something cheap from the corner store. I watch my coworkers order lunch out without a second thought, and I envy them without shame. I don't say anything, but inside, there's a knot of frustration and sadness. It's not just about money, it's about what money represents: freedom, choice, dignity. There's an overwhelming feeling of being trapped. I work hard, sometimes late into the night, picking up extra shifts or freelance gigs when I can, but it never feels like enough. I try to budget meticulously, cutting out anything that's not absolutely necessary. No subscriptions, no nights out, no new clothes unless something's falling apart. Even social invitations sometimes feel like burdens because they cost money or energy I don't have. I tell myself, just one more month, then you can breathe. But the months stack up, and the breathing space never comes. Emotionally, this constant pressure is exhausting. There's a quiet shame that settles in when you can't afford things others take for granted, like a night out with friends or a small vacation. I hide it well, but sometimes late at night, when everything is quiet, the weight becomes too much. I wonder what I'm doing wrong, why the system feels so rigged. I think about the student loans I still carry, the rising costs of healthcare, the endless bills, and wonder if I'll ever truly be free. Dreams? I've had to put so many on hold. I used to want to travel, to see the world, meet new people, experience different cultures. Now, even a weekend trip feels out of reach. I wanted to start my own business someday, something creative and meaningful, but the risk feels too great when every penny counts. I dreamed of a small apartment filled with books and plants, a space that feels truly mine, but right now, I'm just trying to find a place that's affordable and safe. Despite all this, I try to hold on to hope. Sometimes, hope is the only thing that gets me through. I remind myself that this isn't permanent, that if I keep pushing, things might change. I seek comfort in little victories, paying off a credit card, finding a good deal, managing to save a bit at the end of the month. I find solace in friends who understand, in moments of laughter that remind me life still holds joy. But mostly, I wish people understood what it's like, not just the numbers on a paycheck, but the emotional toll of living in a system where expenses always outpace income. It's a slow drain, a feeling of running on a treadmill that never stops speeding up. I want to believe in a future where I can breathe easier, make choices without fear, and finally pursue the dreams I've had to shelve. Until then, I keep going, step by step, hoping for a break in the tide. I never thought I'd feel this way at 27. I used to believe that if you worked hard enough, you could build a life, a comfortable one, even. But now, every day feels like treading water in a storm. The bills keep coming, the prices keep rising, and my paycheck just doesn't. It's like I'm trapped in a loop, a cycle I can't break out of, no matter how much I struggle. I remember when I first got my job out of college. I was excited, hopeful even. It wasn't a high-paying gig, but it was steady, and for a while, I thought I was doing okay. Rent was manageable, I could afford groceries, maybe a night out once a month. But that was before rent jumped again, before groceries became pricier, before every utility bill felt like a punch in the gut. It's exhausting. Sometimes I sit at my tiny kitchen table, staring at my spreadsheet of expenses and income, trying to figure out where I can cut corners. The answer's almost always the same: nowhere left to trim without making my life unbearable. I skip meals more often than I'd like to admit, not because I want to, but because I have to. I've stopped buying new clothes, even when the ones I have are falling apart. I don't go out with friends anymore, not because I don't want to, but because I can't afford it. The feeling of missing out is like a weight pressing down on my chest. It's not just the money, it's the constant anxiety that comes with it. There's a gnawing fear in the back of my mind every day: what if something unexpected happens? A car breaks down, a medical bill comes in, or worse. I don't have a safety net anymore. My savings dried up months ago, drained by one crisis after another. It's like walking a tightrope with no safety net below. The stress has seeped into everything: my sleep is restless, my mood unpredictable. I feel isolated, even when I'm surrounded by people. I've tried talking about it, but it's hard to explain how deep this goes without sounding like I'm complaining. Everyone has their struggles, right? But this feels different. It's not just about struggling, it's about being stuck. The cost of living climbs faster than my income can catch up. I watch inflation numbers on the news and see rent prices skyrocketing in my neighborhood. I feel invisible, as if the system was never designed for people like me to get ahead, only to keep us barely afloat. I've had to postpone so many dreams. Buying a house? Forget it. Even the idea of saving for a down payment feels like a joke. Traveling? Once a passion of mine, something I thought would broaden my horizons and give me new energy. Now, it feels like an impossible luxury. I've put off grad school because taking on debt scares me more than staying stuck in this job. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever be able to start a family, or if that's another dream to shelve indefinitely. Coping with this isn't easy. I try to find moments of joy in small things: a morning coffee from the corner shop, a walk in the park, a phone call with an old friend. But the shadow of financial strain is always there, dulling the brightness of those moments. I've started journaling to keep myself grounded, to remind myself that I'm more than my bank balance or my job title. Meditation helps, too, though some days it's hard to quiet the racing thoughts. I envy the stories I hear from people who seem to have more control over their lives, who can invest in their future, who can say yes to opportunities without worrying about the price tag. I wonder how they do it, what they know that I don't. It's frustrating because I work hard, sometimes 2 jobs, sometimes late into the night, but it feels like I'm running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. Still, despite all this, I hold on to hope. Hope that one day the economy will shift, that wages will rise, that affordable housing will be a reality, not just a headline. Hope that I'll find a way out of this cycle. Hope that the dreams I postponed aren't gone forever, just delayed. I remind myself that my worth isn't measured in dollars, that I'm not alone, even if it feels that way. This is my truth: messy, uncomfortable, and real. I'm still here, still trying. Some days it feels like survival, other days like mere existence. But I keep moving forward, even if it's one small step at a time. Because what else can I do? The system might be stacked against me, but I'm not ready to give up on myself yet. It's been like this for years now, this slow, grinding weight of money that never quite stretches far enough. Every morning, I wake up knowing I have to make my paycheck last a little longer, stretch it a little thinner. But somehow, no matter how careful I get, expenses keep creeping up faster than I can keep up. Rent goes up, groceries get more expensive, the utility bills climb. It feels like I'm caught in this endless game where the rules change against me every single round. I'm 27, working full-time, and still living paycheck to paycheck. There was a time I thought that working hard, being responsible, would mean some freedom. That I'd be able to build a life on my own terms. But right now, it just feels like survival. I've had to become really good at saying no: no nights out, no spontaneous weekend trips, no buying things that aren't absolutely necessary. Even small treats feel like luxuries. Last week, I stared at the grocery store shelves for what felt like an hour, trying to decide between the brand name cereal I like and the cheaper off-brand. That moment hit harder than I expected, because it's not just cereal. It's a snapshot of how deep this financial pressure runs in my life. I'm constantly calculating, second-guessing, and sometimes it's exhausting. I hate that I have to live like this, but I also hate admitting it to anyone. Sometimes, I wonder how I got here. I remember dreaming about my future when I was younger, thinking about college, a career, maybe moving to a new city, traveling. I thought I'd have more control over my life by now. But the truth is, I feel stuck. Like I'm trapped in this system where costs keep rising, but my income stays the same or barely grows. The minimum wage jobs I bounced through before this one felt hopeless, and even now, this full-time job doesn't give me the stability or growth I need. The emotional toll is harder than people realize. There's a constant knot in my stomach, this low-level anxiety that never quite goes away. I lie awake some nights thinking about bills and what would happen if something unexpected came up, like a car repair or a medical bill. I can't really afford emergencies. It's scary how fragile this whole balancing act feels. I try to cope in small ways. I started running in the mornings because it clears my head. Sometimes, when I can afford it, I treat myself to a coffee from a cafe, even though it's a luxury. I talk to close friends about money sometimes, though I don't like to burden them. They're struggling too. Social media is a trap, everyone's lives look so polished and easy, but I know it's not the full story. I think about the dreams I've had to put on hold. I wanted to go back to school for a master's degree, but tuition is insane and I don't have the time or energy to take on more debt. I've dreamed about moving to a bigger city, where there might be better opportunities, but the cost of living there is even higher. Sometimes I fantasize about quitting it all and starting fresh somewhere cheaper, but I'm terrified of the unknown and what that would mean for my financial stability. There are moments when I feel ashamed, like I've failed somehow. Like I'm not doing enough or that I'm just not smart enough to figure out a way out of this. But I know that's not true. I work hard. I'm responsible. The problem is the system itself, it's broken in a way that makes it nearly impossible for people like me to get ahead. Yet, beneath all of this, there's still hope. Hope that maybe one day, I'll be able to breathe a little easier. That I'll have a cushion to fall back on. That I'll wake up without this constant financial dread. It's that hope that keeps me going, even on the hardest days. I remind myself that this isn't forever, that I can build toward a better future, even if it's slower than I'd hoped. So I keep moving forward. I keep budgeting, saving what little I can, and trying to find moments of joy amidst the struggle. Because even when it feels impossible, I want to believe there's a way out, and that one day I'll be able to look back and say, I made it. I never thought I'd be someone who wakes up every day feeling like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up, no matter how fast I move. But here I am, in my late 20s, staring at my bank account, wondering how every month slips through my fingers like water. It's like this invisible force, the cost of everything around me grows faster than I can keep up with, and I'm stuck trying to hold it all together, barely managing to stay afloat. I remember when I first moved out of my parents' place. I was so proud to have a little apartment of my own, a space where I could call the shots. I had a steady job then, or at least steady enough, and I felt hopeful. Sure, rent was a stretch, but I had a budget, and for a while, I thought I could make it work. I imagined saving up for a car, maybe a trip somewhere, or even just building a little cushion in my savings. But those dreams faded fast. Inflation hit like a storm. Groceries that used to cost $30 jumped to $50. Utilities climbed steadily. Gas prices fluctuated wildly. I found myself cutting back on little things, coffee runs, dinners out, new clothes, because every dollar counted. But somehow, the rent always stayed the same, or even increased. Sometimes I'd lie awake at night, my mind racing through numbers, rent, bills, food, transport, debt payments. The total always added up to more than I made. The hardest part is feeling trapped. Like I'm caught in a loop where no matter how hard I work or how careful I am, I can't break free. My job pays the bills, but it doesn't pay for peace of mind. Sometimes I fantasize about quitting, just walking away from the endless grind, but I know that's not an option. If I lose my job, everything collapses. So I keep pushing, day after day, swallowing the anxiety and the frustration. There are moments when the pressure feels suffocating. I catch myself snapping at friends or family over trivial things, but it's not really them I'm upset with. It's this relentless stress that clings to me, like a shadow I can't shake off. I try to stay upbeat, to laugh it off, but inside I'm often tired, physically and emotionally. I carry a quiet ache of exhaustion that no amount of sleep seems to fix. To cope, I've found small ways to create pockets of relief. I walk instead of taking the bus when I can, even if it means being late sometimes. I learn to cook meals with the cheapest ingredients, trying to stretch what little I have. I binge watch old shows that remind me of easier times. Sometimes I talk to online communities where others share their struggles, and it's oddly comforting to know I'm not alone in this. But the biggest sacrifice has been on my dreams. I used to think I'd travel, see the world, maybe go back to school to study something I'm passionate about. I had a list of places I wanted to visit, books I wanted to read, hobbies I wanted to explore. Those dreams now feel like luxuries, something to maybe consider someday, when life is easier, though that day feels increasingly distant. I'm aware that my story isn't unique. So many people my age are stuck in this same cycle, trying to keep their heads above water while the system seems designed to keep them down. It's a constant negotiation between what I need to survive and what I want to live for. Some days, I wonder if I'm strong enough to keep going. But then I remind myself that even in this pressure cooker, there's resilience. I find strength in small victories, a month without overdraft fees, a meal made from scratch, a kind word from a friend. I cling to those moments because they're proof that I'm still here, still fighting. I don't know exactly what the future holds, but I hold on to hope. Hope that one day, the treadmill will slow. That my income might catch up to my expenses. That I'll finally breathe freely without the constant weight of financial worry. For now, I keep putting one foot in front of the other, doing the best I can with what I've got, even when it feels impossible. Because giving up is not an option, not yet. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when it started feeling like I was drowning in numbers. Maybe it was when I first sat down to make my monthly budget and realized the rent alone ate up more than half of what I earned. Maybe it was the creeping awareness that no matter how many shifts I picked up, no matter how much I cut back on everything, eating out, going to the movies, even the occasional coffee, the bills still piled up. It's this constant, gnawing tension, expenses rising faster than my income, and me, stuck in the middle, barely keeping my head above water. I'm 26 now, living in a cramped apartment that's too expensive for what it is, in a city that somehow feels both full of opportunity and completely indifferent. Growing up, I was told the classic version of the American dream: work hard, go to school, get a decent job, and you'll build a comfortable life. But the reality has been so much more complicated and honestly, a lot more brutal. Every morning, I wake up with this knot in my stomach, a mix of exhaustion and anxiety. The economic environment feels like a storm that's always looming, and I'm just trying not to get swept away. Rent, utilities, groceries, student loans, car payments, they don't wait for the paycheck to clear. They grow, they multiply, like some relentless tide rising with no end in sight. Sometimes I wonder if it's even possible to escape this cycle or if it's just the way life is now. The hardest part is the feeling of being trapped. I'm working hard, but it never feels like enough. I try to save, but every time I put a little aside, an unexpected expense, like a doctor's visit or a broken phone, comes crashing through my careful plans. It's frustrating, and it makes me feel powerless. Like I'm on a hamster wheel, running as fast as I can but going nowhere. My daily decisions have shrunk to almost nothing. I've stopped going out with friends because it costs too much. I skip meals sometimes, not out of choice but because I'm rationing what little food I have. When I do buy groceries, I stick to the cheapest options, lots of pasta and canned beans. I've learned to hunt for discounts and coupons, to plan meals around sales. I've even started taking public transportation everywhere, even though it adds hours to my day. But none of it feels like a solution, just a way to delay the inevitable. Emotionally, it's draining. There's a constant background hum of stress that's hard to shake. I catch myself getting overwhelmed by even small problems, my patience thinner than it used to be. I feel a kind of quiet shame sometimes, like I should be doing better, like I'm failing at something basic that everyone else seems to manage. Social media doesn't help, seeing people post about vacations, new cars, apartments with views, it reminds me how far off I am from that life. Some nights I lie awake imagining what it would be like to not have to worry so much. To have enough money to fix my car without panicking. To go to a doctor without checking my bank balance first. To save for something meaningful, a trip, a course, maybe even a small place of my own. These dreams feel like fragile little lights that flicker in the darkness, easy to blow out but too precious to give up on. I've had to postpone so many dreams. Graduate school? It's on hold indefinitely because I can't afford to quit my job or take on more debt. Starting my own business? A distant fantasy, because I barely scrape by as it is. Even simple things, like upgrading my laptop so I can work more efficiently, feel out of reach. It's heartbreaking to realize that ambition and hope are luxuries when you're just trying to survive. But somehow, despite all this, I keep going. I find little ways to cope, listening to podcasts, journaling, calling a friend when I feel like I might break. I remind myself that this isn't forever, even if it feels endless right now. I try to hold on to the belief that one day, things will shift, that the economy won't always feel like a cage. Maybe I'll find a better job, maybe the cost of living will stabilize, or maybe I'll learn to build something new from the scraps. What keeps me moving forward is the hope that someday, the numbers will balance out. That I'll stop feeling like I'm losing the fight against invisible forces. That I can stop cutting corners and start living a little. I want to believe that my story isn't just about struggle, but about resilience. That even in the hardest times, there's room for growth, for dreams, and for change. For now, though, I'm here, doing my best to make it through another month, another week, another day. Holding on to the fragile thread of hope, even as the weight of reality tries to pull me under. It's hard to put into words exactly what this constant pressure feels like being stuck underwater, struggling to reach the surface, but every time you kick, the weight only pulls you down deeper. That's what living with ongoing financial stress feels like to me. I'm 26, working full-time, and yet somehow, I always feel like I'm just barely holding on. The bills don't wait, and neither does life. From the moment I wake up, money is in the back of my mind. The rent is due in a few days, the car needs maintenance, my phone bill just jumped again, and don't get me started on groceries. Prices keep climbing, faster than my paycheck ever will. It's this invisible, relentless force, expenses growing while my income stays flat or barely inches up, if it even does. It feels like I'm on a treadmill that's speeding up and I'm trying to run just to stay in place. I remember when I first moved out on my own, full of hope and excitement. I imagined weekends filled with exploring the city, spontaneous dinners out with friends, and maybe saving up enough to travel or even start investing. But those dreams started fading the moment I signed my lease. That initial excitement gave way to a grinding routine of prioritizing bills over everything else. I had to postpone those trips, shelving them indefinitely because not now turned into maybe never. Every decision I make has money woven into it. Should I cook at home or order takeout? Cooking is cheaper, but after a long day, sometimes I'm just too exhausted. I've started choosing the cheapest ingredients, even if it means bland meals or skipping fresh veggies. When my phone started acting up, I debated between fixing it or getting a used replacement, knowing both options will bite into my already tight budget. I end up patching it up with duct tape and patience, both of which are running thin. The emotional toll is exhausting. I carry this constant knot of anxiety that tightens when bills arrive or when I hear about a sudden price hike in gas or utilities. Some days, I feel ashamed. Like I'm not doing enough, or I'm somehow failing because I can't get ahead. There's this social pressure, too. Everyone seems to have their lives figured out, with savings, trips, and little luxuries, while I'm stuck rationing every cent. It's lonely, even when I'm surrounded by people. Sometimes I cry quietly at night, overwhelmed by this invisible weight. But I don't let those moments linger. I remind myself that I'm doing the best I can. I've gotten good at finding little ways to cope, like savoring a cheap coffee on my walk to work, or binge-watching a favorite show when I can afford the internet bill. I try to celebrate small victories, like paying off a credit card or managing to save $5 one week. They're tiny, but they keep me going. The system feels rigged. I work hard, but the rewards barely trickle in. It's like the economy is this vast machine designed to keep me running but never letting me rest or truly thrive. I see people around me talking about investing, buying homes, or planning for retirement, and it feels like those milestones belong to a different world, one I might never reach. It's heartbreaking to realize that my future is shaped by forces beyond my control, and no matter how much I hustle, the gap keeps widening. Despite all this, I haven't given up hope entirely. I dream of a day when I don't have to stress about rent or whether I can afford a doctor's visit. A day when I can save money, travel to places I've only seen in pictures, or maybe even start a family without this constant fear hanging over me. I want to believe that life can be more than surviving, that someday, I'll thrive. For now, I'm learning to be kind to myself. To accept that it's okay to struggle and that my worth isn't measured by my bank account. I'm trying to hold on to those small moments of joy and to the belief that better days can come, even if they feel distant. It's a hard story, and it's mine. A story of juggling growing expenses, a steady but insufficient paycheck, and the emotional roller coaster that comes with it. But it's also a story of resilience, of waking up each day and choosing to keep going, even when the system feels like it's designed to hold me down. Because deep down, I know that giving up isn't an option. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for now. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. It's hard to put into words what it feels like to constantly wrestle with money, not the kind of money you dream about, but the kind you have to scrape together every day just to keep your life from unraveling. I'm 26 now, working 2 jobs that barely cover the basics, and still, the bills keep piling up like an avalanche I can't stop. It's exhausting, and sometimes it feels like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up while I'm stuck in place. Every morning, I wake up with this pit in my stomach. Not the usual anxiety of a big meeting or a tough day, but the gnawing worry that maybe this month I won't make rent, or that the electricity will get cut off because I'm behind again. I check my bank account on my phone, almost like a ritual, hoping maybe this time something will have changed, a little surprise, an unexpected refund, anything. But no. The balance stares back, small and shrinking. The economy out there feels like a beast I can't tame. Prices rise relentlessly, rent, groceries, gas, everything. But my paychecks? They inch up at a glacial pace, if at all. I keep hearing about inflation, the cost of living crisis, how wages aren't keeping up, but it hits home when you're the one choosing between paying for food or electricity. Last week, I had to skip buying fresh fruits because the price doubled, and canned stuff was all I could afford. It's ridiculous, but it's my reality. When I think about my decisions during the day, they're all filtered through this lens of scarcity. Should I take the bus and save $5 but lose an hour, or risk a rideshare when I'm already running late? Do I buy the generic brand toothpaste, or try to stretch the old one a bit longer even if it's almost gone? Sometimes I refuse to turn on the heater, even in winter, because the electricity bill already feels like a mountain. I dress in layers, shiver at night, and pretend it's just a phase, but it's not. It's every day. It's not just the physical exhaustion, it's the emotional toll. I feel invisible in this system. The more I try to catch up, the further behind I get. I'm stuck in a loop where expenses grow faster than income, like quicksand, pulling me deeper with every step. Friends talk about vacations, buying cars, even just ordering takeout without a second thought. I smile and nod, but inside, there's this sting of loneliness, this shame that I can't keep up. I've had dreams. I used to imagine a life where I could travel, learn new skills without worrying about tuition, maybe start my own business someday. But those dreams have been shelved, for now, for years. I tell myself that one day I'll save enough, that things will turn around, but sometimes hope feels like a luxury I can't afford. It's scary how easy it is to start believing you're meant to settle for less, that survival is the best you can do. To cope, I've gotten into small rituals that give me some sense of control. Budgeting obsessively, tracking every cent in spreadsheets. Cooking at home even when I'm tired. Talking to a few close friends who get it. Sometimes I write down my frustrations, which helps me breathe out the anger and sadness. But mostly, I hold on to tiny victories, making rent on time, catching a sale, or even just surviving another week without a breakdown. Some days, the weight is unbearable, and I feel so tired of fighting a system that seems rigged. But there's a quiet part inside me that still dreams, that still believes I deserve better. I cling to that. I remind myself that this isn't forever. Maybe someday the economy will shift, maybe I'll find a new job, or maybe the system itself will change. Until then, I'm learning to live with the tension of wanting more but having less, of feeling trapped yet still hoping. Being young and struggling financially feels like carrying a secret burden that no one warned you about. It's messy, painful, and humbling. But it's also a story I'm living, and one day, maybe I'll tell it with a little less pain, with a little more light. For now, I keep going. I never thought I'd feel this way, like I'm constantly running on a treadmill that only speeds up the more I try to slow down. Every morning, I wake up with the weight of my bank account pressing against my chest before I even get out of bed. It's like this invisible hand squeezing tighter every day, reminding me that no matter what I do, the bills won't wait, and the paycheck somehow never stretches far enough. I'm 27, working a steady job in marketing. On paper, it looks fine, I have a decent salary, a regular schedule, and what should be enough to live comfortably. But when I look around at the rising rents, the skyrocketing prices at the grocery store, and the endless list of expenses, it all feels like a slow-motion trap tightening around me. My income stays mostly flat, but everything else, housing, utilities, groceries, healthcare, keeps climbing. It's this cruel dance where I chase after the cost of living, but no matter how fast I run, it's always just out of reach. Some days, it feels like I'm just surviving rather than living. I budget obsessively, clipping coupons like I'm in some survivalist game, and yet, at the end of each month, I find myself choosing between paying the electric bill on time or putting gas in my car. Sometimes I choose the car, because if I can't get to work, I lose even more income. But then the anxiety hits. What if the power goes out? What if my landlord starts calling about late rent? The fear is a constant hum in my head. There's this sense of being trapped inside a system that's designed to keep me running but never getting anywhere. Every new expense feels like a chain link added to my wrists. I'm not drowning, exactly, but I'm stuck in deep water, treading so hard that my arms burn. I thought I'd be further by now, owning a car without worrying about repairs, maybe even renting a small place of my own. But those dreams have slipped further away, buried under the weight of monthly rent increases and medical bills from a routine checkup that uncovered an unexpected issue. Emotionally, it's exhausting. The financial pressure seeps into every part of my life. I'm more irritable, more withdrawn. When friends invite me out, I say no, not because I don't want to see them, but because even a casual dinner feels like an unnecessary luxury I can't afford. Social media only makes it worse, everyone seems to be buying new things, traveling, living vibrant lives while I'm sitting at home trying to make ramen feel gourmet. Sometimes I feel like I'm invisible, like my struggles don't matter because they're not dramatic or visible enough. But I try to cope. I find small pockets of joy where I can, reading old books from the library, going for long walks in the park, or watching sunsets from my apartment window. These moments remind me there's more to life than numbers on a bank statement. I've also started journaling, writing down my frustrations, my hopes, and even the tiniest victories, like managing to save $21 month or negotiating a better rate on my phone plan. It helps me feel less alone, less overwhelmed. Still, I can't ignore how much I've had to put on hold. I wanted to travel, to explore the world beyond the city. I dreamed of going back to school, maybe studying something creative or learning a new skill that could lead to better opportunities. I even imagined starting my own little side business someday. But all of that feels like a luxury now, a distant light on the horizon that flickers every time a new bill arrives. At night, when the world quiets down, I lie awake thinking about the future. I want to believe things will get better, that if I just hold on, make it through a few more years, maybe even climb a little higher in my career, I'll finally breathe easier. But there's also this persistent fear that the cycle will never end, that I'll be caught in this financial loop forever, watching my hopes slip further away while the cost of living grows unchecked. It's a lonely, frustrating place to be, but I'm trying to keep my head up. Because if I don't, who will? For now, I take it one day at a time, one paycheck at a time, hoping that someday soon I'll find a way out of this treadmill, maybe not to a life of luxury, but at least to one where I'm not constantly gasping for air. Until then, I keep running. Some days, it feels like I'm stuck in this endless loop where no matter how hard I work or how carefully I budget, I can't catch up. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up every time I get close to feeling steady. The cost of rent, groceries, bills, they all seem to grow faster than my paycheck ever can. And it's not just numbers on a screen, it's this heavy weight in my chest every single morning when I wake up and check my bank account. I'm 27, and I remember a time not too long ago when I believed if I just got a decent job, paid my bills on time, and saved a little here and there, I could build a life for myself. But the reality? It's so much messier and tougher. My job pays the bills, but after rent, utilities, food, and the occasional emergency, there's almost nothing left. Sometimes I think about how different things might be if I had grown up with a safety net or if wages had kept pace with inflation. But instead, here I am, watching my friends buy homes, travel, or even just enjoy weekends without the constant shadow of financial stress looming over them. I keep a spreadsheet, obsessively updating every expense, every cent, trying to make sense of where the money disappears. But the more I track, the clearer it becomes, I'm just treading water. Groceries cost more now, so I shop sales and clip coupons religiously, but it still adds up. Public transportation feels like a luxury, sometimes I skip trips or walk miles just to save on a bus fare. I eat less so I can pay more on bills, but then I feel drained and distracted at work, which makes the whole cycle even harder. The emotional toll is heavy. I didn't realize how much financial stress could seep into every part of life until it started to affect my relationships. I say no to plans again and again, because there's no extra money for nights out or little treats. I don't even want to answer calls from friends sometimes because I'm embarrassed or just don't have the energy to pretend I'm okay. The shame of not being able to keep up with the pace everyone else seems to set is crushing. I've stopped sharing my struggles because I'm afraid of judgment or pity, and honestly, I don't always have the words to explain this slow, relentless pressure that feels invisible but suffocating. I cope in small ways. I find comfort in little routines, like journaling before bed or taking long walks in the park when I can. I try to remind myself that this isn't forever, even though some days it feels permanent. The internet is full of stories of others like me, and it helps, knowing I'm not alone, even if it doesn't make the bills any easier to pay. Dreams? I had so many. Traveling, going back to school, maybe starting a small business or just having a cozy apartment with plants and art on the walls. But those dreams feel distant now, almost like luxuries I've been forced to put on hold indefinitely. Every decision feels like a trade-off. If I take a class to advance my career, how do I cover rent that month? If I try to save for a trip, what if the car breaks down? It's exhausting to live like this, constantly calculating what's possible and what's not. And the system? It feels designed to keep people like me locked in place. The rising cost of living, stagnant wages, lack of affordable healthcare or education, it all stacks up, creating a pressure cooker that's impossible to escape without luck or privilege. I've applied for better jobs, taken side gigs, cut out every non-essential expense, but it's still not enough. The system moves faster than I can, and I'm stuck trying to keep pace. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just supposed to accept this as the new normal, but then a tiny spark of hope flickers. Maybe change will come, in policy, in opportunity, in my life. I hold on to that hope, fragile but persistent, like a quiet promise that things can get better. For now, I keep waking up, keep pushing through, keep dreaming in the small moments between the grind. Being trapped in this financial squeeze isn't just about money. It's about the toll it takes on your sense of self, your confidence, your future. But even in this pressure, I'm still here, still trying. Maybe that's something, too. I wake up most mornings with this heavy knot in my chest, like an invisible weight reminding me that the day ahead is just another round in a never-ending cycle of trying to make ends meet. It's not that I don't want to live fully or chase dreams. It's just, every choice feels filtered through this lens of money, or more accurately, the lack of it. When I was younger, I imagined adulthood differently. I pictured a world where I'd work hard, yes, but also have the freedom to enjoy the fruits of that labor. Maybe I'd travel a bit, save for a nice apartment, or even think about starting a family someday. Now, those ideas feel like distant luxuries, locked behind a door labeled financial security, a door I can't even get close to. The economy these days is brutal. Rent keeps creeping up, grocery prices feel like they spike every week, and utilities, forget about it. Even the small things, like a cup of coffee or a night out, have become decisions weighed down by guilt and calculation. I remember the first time I realized how tight things had gotten. I stood in the supermarket aisle, staring at a can of soup, realizing I couldn't afford the more expensive, healthier option. I reached for the cheaper one, but the moment felt like a punch in the gut. I had to prioritize filling my stomach over nourishing it. My income hasn't kept pace with any of this. I work a full-time job, often more than 40 hours a week, but raises are rare and inflation keeps eating away at whatever tiny increases I get. I hear about people making it, buying homes, investing, and I want to be hopeful for myself too, but it's hard not to feel stuck in a system designed to keep me treading water. Every month, it's the same dance: pay rent, cover bills, buy groceries, and then see what's left, if anything, for unexpected expenses. Spoiler, there rarely is. Emotionally, it wears on me. There's this persistent background anxiety that's hard to shake. It creeps in during quiet moments, like when I'm trying to fall asleep and my mind races through every bill, every dollar owed, every late payment I'm scared I might miss. It's a mix of frustration, shame, and fear. I'm frustrated because I work hard and still can't get ahead. I feel ashamed for having to ask for help or admit I'm struggling, even though I know so many people are in the same boat. And I'm scared of what happens if I get sick, lose my job, or if something big and unexpected happens. There's no safety net for me. Sometimes, I catch myself daydreaming, and those dreams feel painfully out of reach. I used to want to go back to school, to learn something new that could open doors to a better future. I thought about starting my own business someday, or at least having enough savings to travel and see the world beyond my small city. But those dreams have been shelved indefinitely. Every dollar saved feels like it has to go toward survival, not toward growth or enjoyment. Coping with all this is a daily challenge. I try to find small moments of joy: a walk in the park, a phone call with a friend, a book borrowed from the library. I've gotten really good at cutting costs, cooking at home, using public transit, and finding free or low-cost entertainment. But even those little things sometimes feel like tiny battles, like I'm constantly negotiating with myself about what I can afford to do or have. There's also a strange kind of loneliness that comes with financial pressure. It's hard to explain, but when you can't join friends for dinner, or feel embarrassed about not having money for group activities, it isolates you. People mean well, but it's easier for them to forget what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck when their own lives look stable. I try to keep those feelings at bay by being honest with a few close friends, but vulnerability around money is hard. It feels like exposing a weakness in a world that often judges worth by financial success. Despite everything, I'm still holding on to hope, though sometimes it flickers weakly. I remind myself that this current phase isn't my whole life story. Maybe one day I'll find a better job, or maybe I'll finally get that break that allows me to breathe and plan long term. I think about the small steps, building credit, learning to budget better, exploring side hustles, as ways to push back against the system, even if just a little. More than anything, I want a sense of stability. I want to feel secure enough to make choices without the constant fear of financial collapse. I want to dream again without immediately having to put those dreams on hold. And I want to be kind to myself through all of it, even when the world around me feels like it's stacked against me. Living under this pressure isn't just about money. It's about reclaiming a sense of control, dignity, and the freedom to imagine a future beyond survival. I may be trapped for now, but I'm still here, still trying, still hoping, and still dreaming of a day when I can finally open that door to financial peace. Until then, I take it one day at a time. I never imagined my 20s would feel this heavy. Every morning, I wake up with a pit in my stomach, like I'm carrying an invisible weight that tightens just a little more with each passing day. It's not just about money, though. Honestly, money is the center of this whirlwind. It's about feeling stuck in a system where everything costs more but my paycheck doesn't seem to catch up. The rising bills, the rent, the groceries, the gas, it all piles up so fast, and I'm left scrambling just to stay afloat. When I first started working full-time after college, I was optimistic. I pictured myself building a life, maybe moving into a nice apartment with a roommate or two, traveling occasionally, buying decent clothes, eating out sometimes. I thought I'd have the freedom to explore who I was outside of work. But reality hit hard and fast. Rent went up. Health insurance premiums rose. Grocery prices kept climbing. Utilities fluctuated wildly, and everything that used to seem affordable suddenly felt like a luxury. Meanwhile, my salary has only nudged up in tiny increments, if at all. There's a strange kind of pressure in feeling like you're running a race, but the track keeps stretching longer and longer. I budget obsessively, tracking every cent, using apps that categorize my spending, cutting back wherever I can. But then there's an unexpected expense, a car repair, a medical bill, a friend's birthday gift, and the carefully laid plans collapse like a house of cards. It's exhausting. It's demoralizing. Some days, I feel like I'm living in a loop of sacrifice. I skip meals sometimes, not because I'm hungry, but because I know food costs money and I'm trying to save. I pass up social invites, not because I don't want to see my friends, but because the cost of a night out means I might have to survive on instant noodles for the next week. I wear the same clothes until they're threadbare, avoid buying new shoes, and delay replacing broken things in my apartment. My phone is ancient, my laptop slow. All these small decisions feel like constant reminders that I'm barely getting by. Emotionally, it's draining. I feel anxious all the time, a low hum of worry that never quite fades. I lie awake at night thinking about what happens if I lose my job or if there's a bigger emergency. I wonder how I'll ever get ahead. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole at the bottom. The harder I work, the more it feels like the system is designed to keep me where I am, on the edge, never quite breaking through. The worst part is the isolation. People don't always understand why I can't just manage better or just save more. They see someone who's young and healthy, with a job, and assume it should be easy. But the truth is, the economic environment is brutal. Inflation chases my paychecks. The job market feels unstable, and opportunities that once seemed reachable now seem distant. I'm not just fighting my own struggles, I'm fighting a whole system that makes it nearly impossible to thrive without some sort of privilege or safety net. Despite all this, I keep going. I've found small ways to cope. Journaling helps me process the swirl of emotions. I lean on a few close friends who understand that sometimes I'm fine really means I'm barely holding it together. I binge-watch shows that transport me somewhere else, if only for a while. Sometimes, I give myself permission to dream, even if those dreams feel out of reach. Speaking of dreams, I've had to postpone so many. I wanted to travel, really see the world, not just scroll through pictures on Instagram. I wanted to go back to school, maybe get a graduate degree, but tuition and living expenses make that impossible right now. I dreamed of moving out of this cramped, noisy apartment into a place where I could breathe, maybe have a pet, a small garden. I pictured myself building savings, investing in a future, buying a car to explore my city without relying on unreliable public transport. All those plans feel like they're on hold indefinitely, like I'm stuck in a waiting room with no clear end in sight. Some nights, I cry quietly, overwhelmed by the pressure and uncertainty. Other times, I force myself to remember why I keep pushing. I want stability. I want freedom. I want to live a life where money doesn't dictate every choice, where I can breathe without that constant knot of stress. I want to believe that one day, this struggle will be a chapter in my story, not the whole book. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: financial pressure is more than numbers on a screen or bank statements. It's emotional. It's psychological. It's a shadow that follows you into every room, every conversation, every decision. And until the system changes, until wages match the cost of living, I'm left trying to navigate this maze as best I can, one day, $1, one hope at a time. So here I am. Young, tired, anxious, but still trying. Still dreaming, even if quietly. Still believing that someday, maybe soon, things will get a little easier. That's my truth. I never thought I'd be living like this. At 27, I imagined myself already past this stage, maybe a little financially unstable here and there, sure, but not this constant, gnawing pressure that feels like it's squeezing the air out of my lungs. But here I am, day after day, watching my paycheck stretch thinner and thinner, like trying to hold on to water with my bare hands. It just slips away. The reality is harsh, everything costs more than it used to, but my salary doesn't move much. Rent goes up. Groceries keep getting pricier. Utilities spike unexpectedly. And no matter how much I cut back, canceling subscriptions, cooking all my meals, buying second-hand clothes, it's never enough. It's like running on a treadmill that's speeding up while my legs get heavier. The harder I try, the more exhausted I become, but the finish line never gets any closer. Some mornings, I wake up with a pit in my stomach because I know the first thing I'll have to do is check my bank account and try to figure out how to make the rest of the month work. It's this constant calculation: should I skip a doctor's appointment? Delay fixing the leaky faucet? Ignore the car's warning light a little longer? Every choice feels like choosing between survival and sanity. The stress is relentless, and I'm not even sure it's visible to others. I keep a straight face at work, I smile when I meet friends, but inside, there's this low simmering anxiety that never quite lets me be. I remember when I was younger, I had these big dreams. Traveling the world, maybe going back to school for something I loved, owning a cozy apartment filled with plants and books, even just feeling secure enough to save a little for a rainy day. Now those dreams feel distant, like stars that are there but unreachable. I put off enrolling in that night class because tuition is just one more thing I can't justify right now. The idea of taking a trip feels like an impossible luxury. Even setting aside a small emergency fund feels like a cruel joke when unexpected bills show up and drain what little I have. The system feels rigged, or maybe it's just indifferent. I hear news about inflation, about wage stagnation, about housing crises, but those are just headlines. What it means for me is waking up every day knowing that the cost of living is a wall I keep bumping into, harder each time. My income might increase a little, but never enough to keep pace. And sometimes I wonder if it's my fault, that maybe if I worked harder, made different choices, or was smarter with money, I wouldn't be stuck in this loop. But deep down, I know it's bigger than me. What keeps me going? Honestly, some days it's just the hope that maybe someday things will shift. That I'll find a better job, or maybe a chance to move somewhere more affordable. That the economy might stabilize, or policies might change to help people like me. I hold on to small moments too, like a kind word from a coworker, or a quiet evening where I can just breathe without the weight of the bills pressing down. I also lean on friends and family, even if I don't always share the full picture, because isolation would only make it worse. Coping isn't glamorous. Sometimes I distract myself with TV shows or books to forget for a little while. Other times, I try to journal or meditate, even if it feels like putting a tiny band-aid on a big wound. I've learned to celebrate the small victories, making it through the month without overdrawing, cooking a meal that doesn't break the bank, or managing to save a few dollars. They're tiny, but they mean something. Most of all, I'm learning to be kind to myself in a world that often feels unkind. This financial pressure isn't a reflection of my worth or effort, it's a reality many people face. And admitting that is hard, but necessary. I want to believe in a future where I'm not just surviving, but thriving. Where my dreams aren't postponed indefinitely, but alive and achievable. Until then, I'm holding on, step by step, day by day, doing what I can with what I have, hoping for more. It's exhausting, but I'm still here. I never thought I'd be writing this story about myself, caught in this relentless tug-of-war between what I earn and what I owe. But here I am, a few years out of college, feeling more like I'm sinking than swimming. It's like every time I take a small step forward, the world pulls me 2 steps back, mostly through money. I grew up with the usual idea that if you work hard and do the right things, go to school, get a job, be responsible, you'll eventually build a life where money isn't the constant source of stress. That story felt simple and hopeful, like a map. But reality? It's a maze without clear exits. Rent prices keep climbing, groceries cost more than I expected, bills pile up, and my paycheck? It's barely keeping pace, if it even does. Every morning, I wake up knowing I have to stretch my money in ways that feel almost impossible. The coffee I used to love, the weekend brunches with friends, little things I thought I could enjoy, they're all casualties of a budget that tightens like a noose. I scan my bank app nervously before making any purchase, even the tiniest one. Should I buy that snack? Do I really need new clothes now, or can I make do with what I have? Sometimes I lie awake at night thinking about what would happen if an emergency struck. A broken phone or a car repair feels like a financial earthquake waiting to happen. I've watched prices surge everywhere. Rent in my neighborhood alone has jumped more than 20% since I moved in 2 years ago. Utilities have climbed, groceries feel more expensive week by week. The inflation numbers we see on the news aren't just statistics to me, they're my reality, carved into every choice I make. Meanwhile, my paycheck hasn't grown enough to catch up, and overtime isn't really an option when my job demands are already high and exhausting. Sometimes, I feel like I'm trapped in a system designed to keep me scrambling. I work full-time, often late, yet it's still not enough to feel secure. The cycle is exhausting, pay the bills, eat enough to keep going, maybe save a little, but then something unexpected happens, and all that effort unravels. I envy people who seem to have financial breathing room, who can plan vacations or save for big things without fear. I'm not even talking about luxury, just stability, something steady. Emotionally, it's a grind. The constant worry seeps into my self-esteem and energy levels. It's hard to focus when a knot of anxiety lives in your chest most days. I find myself withdrawing from friends because social outings feel like a luxury I can't afford. When they invite me out, I sometimes lie and say I'm busy rather than confess I just can't spare the money. That loneliness weighs on me, like my struggles are invisible and somehow shameful. I try to cope the best I can. Budgeting apps have become my closest allies, and I've learned to cook meals at home that stretch ingredients without feeling miserable. I read about side hustles and think about starting one, but my energy is limited after long days. Sometimes I binge watch shows or listen to podcasts that talk about people overcoming financial challenges. They give me hope, but also remind me of how much I still have to climb. My dreams have changed over the years, shaped by the constant push and pull of money. I used to imagine traveling, backpacking across Europe or seeing new cultures firsthand. Now I can barely imagine affording a bus ticket out of town. I thought I'd save for a home someday, maybe start a family or invest in something meaningful. Those things seem distant, almost like fantasies, because right now, getting by feels like an accomplishment. Still, I hold on to hope, however fragile. Hope that maybe the economy will shift, that wages will rise, or I'll find a new job that pays better and respects my time. Hope that I can build a safety net, even if it's small at first. Hope that I can reclaim some parts of my life that feel lost under the weight of bills and expenses. Hope that one day, I'll look back on this period and see it as a chapter, tough, but temporary. This story isn't unique, though it feels deeply personal. I know many others are in the same boat, trying to navigate an economic landscape that's shifting faster than their paychecks. Sometimes it feels like shouting into the void, but maybe sharing this, the honest, raw experience, is a step toward understanding, empathy, and change. For now, I'll keep waking up, budgeting, sacrificing small pleasures, and holding on to those dreams. Because despite the pressure, the stress, and the fatigue, giving up isn't really an option. There has to be more waiting on the other side of this struggle. I just have to keep going to find it. Sometimes I wonder if this is how it's supposed to feel, like I'm endlessly treading water, but the tide just keeps pulling me deeper. Every morning, I wake up and think, okay, today I'll get ahead. Today the numbers will work out, but by the time I sit down with my phone to track my expenses, I'm already staring at red. I'm 26, working full-time, but the paycheck doesn't stretch the way it used to, or maybe it never really did, and I just didn't notice until recently. Rent's gone up twice in the last year, my utilities are climbing, and even the basics like groceries and gas seem to have their own agenda of getting more expensive. It's this quiet, relentless pressure that doesn't really let up. You know, like a weight you carry, but sometimes it feels more like a noose tightening bit by bit. Every decision feels calculated. If I want to eat out, that's probably a $15 meal gone that I could have used for groceries for 2 or 3 days. If I think about getting my car fixed, I have to debate it against the risk of it breaking down completely, which would be worse and more expensive. If I want to see friends, I have to figure out if I can swing the cost of coffee or a movie ticket without feeling guilty later. These aren't small annoyances, they're choices that echo throughout my week and make me question whether I'm doing enough, or if I'm just stuck. I remember last year I wanted to take a short weekend trip. Just a break, to feel something different, see new places, clear my head. But when I looked at my bank balance, it was like the numbers mocked me. Not now, they said. Maybe someday. And that someday keeps getting pushed further away, disappearing behind mounting bills and unexpected expenses like medical copays or a broken phone screen. The hardest part is feeling like I'm trapped inside a system that doesn't really care about people like me. Like the economy is this big, impersonal machine designed to keep things moving, except I'm the one stuck at the bottom, getting squeezed harder every month. Inflation, stagnant wages, rising housing costs, these words used to be abstract concepts I read about in the news. Now they're my reality. And it's exhausting. Sometimes, I feel ashamed. I tell myself I should be managing better, budgeting smarter, hustling harder. But then I look around, and I see people in similar boats, friends juggling multiple gigs, family members working overtime just to keep the lights on. It doesn't make it easier, but it does remind me I'm not alone in this. Emotionally, it's a roller coaster. Some days, I'm numb, just going through the motions so I don't have to think about it. Other days, I'm overwhelmed by anxiety, imagining what would happen if the next paycheck didn't come through, or if a single emergency hit. Sleep is restless, and there's this quiet, gnawing fear that the future I dreamed of, owning a home, traveling, even just having some financial breathing room, will always be out of reach. To cope, I've learned to find small moments of joy in the little things. Cooking a nice meal at home, even if it's just pasta and veggies. Walking in the park on a sunny day. Calling a friend just to hear a familiar voice. These moments don't fix the financial pressure, but they help me breathe a little easier. I've also started journaling more, trying to untangle my thoughts and fears, reminding myself that I'm more than my bank balance. I used to dream big, travel the world, start a business, go back to school. But those dreams have been shelved indefinitely, replaced by survival goals, pay rent, cover bills, keep food on the table. It feels like my life is on hold, waiting for some shift in the economy or my situation that might never come. And that's a lonely, disheartening place to be. Still, I try to hold on to hope. Hope that maybe one day, the tide will turn. That I'll get a raise, or find a better job, or the cost of living will stabilize. That I'll finally be able to stop worrying about money every minute of the day and start thinking about what I want out of life again, not just what I need to survive. I'm learning to be patient with myself, and to remind myself that even if progress feels slow or invisible, it's still progress. This isn't just about numbers or budgets, it's about dignity, peace of mind, and the chance to build something meaningful. For now, I'm doing what I can, being honest about my struggles, reaching out when I need help, and holding on to the possibility that better days are ahead. Because if there's one thing this experience has taught me, it's that resilience isn't about never falling, it's about getting back up, even when the weight feels unbearable. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.